that she will face for Patty Gasso's Sooners. Agbayani, Parker, and Sanders, the top three, then Pickering and McEnroe. Marinas had the big week and big game. Garcia extended her hitting streak to 10 straight games. Dayton and Wright. Emmerling will be behind the plate. And Hannah Core in center, batting ninth. Tell you what, it was a lot of work for these fans to exit and get right back in line and pack Bogle Park for game 2. We made it. We've got a lineup. We've got fans. All of that is good as we get ready for softball action. The 24-0 Oklahoma Sooners always pack the crowd, and of course fans calling the Hogs here as well at Bogle Park on what was a cool but not necessarily a windy day. A vast improvement from yesterday when it was warm and crazy windy. And we're off and rolling with strike one to Agbayani.
And the exciting thing is now that Oklahoma's in the SEC and we are bordering states, there is such an electric mix between Arkansas and Oklahoma fans here today.
You aren't kidding. A lot of Boomer Sooner chants as well. A two-hopper to Davison at second base. She'll make the play and retire her counterpart to begin the second contest.
And similarly to what we saw in game 1 from Robin Heron getting a lot of ground ball outs, Peyton Burnham, she is very similar in that she loves to let her defense do the work behind her.
And it brings up Ella Parker serving as the DP. One thing that stood out to me, you look at game 1, Bree Ellis went 0 for 3. Parker went 0 for 3. And you're talking about 2 of the 3 hitters in the conference that came in batting better than 500. That's rare. Pitch just misses. Our plate umpire here in game 2 is Thomas Meyer. Alex Leap at first. William Lopez pellet over at third. Nice pitch from Burnham.
That off-speed drop ball that Peyton Burnham throws, that's her bread and butter pitch. When she gets ahead in the count, that is the pitch that she is going to attack hitters with.
And misses down and away, blocked by Kennedy Miller. Miller catching both ends of this twin bill. Both teams tinkering with their lineup just a little bit for the second game. Trying to find out if anybody can knock off these Sooners. That one goes above the belt and misses, and the count's full.
And that's one thing that Patty Gasso, she does. She shifts the lineup pretty consistently throughout the games. But starting out early in the SEC play, you're still trying to figure out what of your lineup fits.
And Parker ends up working the walk. First base runner for the Sooners. This Patty Gasso, her team got to town late Thursday night, so they were here Friday and had to wait, of course, as well earlier today. She got to see her 4-month-old granddaughter for the second time on what would have been Thursday morning. And the granddaughter promptly spit up on her shirt, and the leaky diaper took care of the pants. So that was a 1-2 combination she got right out of the gates Friday morning, or Thursday morning again, here in Fayetteville.
Being a grandmother, getting to go quick into action with the grandchildren. But, you know, one thing that she loved to talk about was her grandkids, which is super sweet and special.
Extra long stay here in Fayetteville with that game in Tulsa on Wednesday. That one sneaks away from Miller. Parker's going to advance. And you can see Burnham, Sydney, really making a concerted effort to do her best to stay away from the heart of the plate.
She is working the edges of the plate, keeping the ball through the heart of the zone. And for this Oklahoma offense, when you bring it right there in the heart of the plate, that's when they absolutely explode.
Caught some of the plate there, but maybe took a little off to Sydney Sanders. It was a pass ball that sent Parker into scoring position. Sanders had a couple of runs batted in game 1. Soft liner tracking right to Rio for out number 2. I got to believe as a defender, as a pitcher, Sydney, when you face Oklahoma, the adrenaline is there. Maybe even a little anxiousness. You don't want to make a mistake. You want to put forth your best effort. You know that this is such a talented team that one mistake could really end up costing your team a game.
And with this offense, it definitely applies the pressure in the circle and defensively. One thing Coach Courtney Deifel talked about with this before this series is not allowing Oklahoma to get more than what they deserve.
Pickering the batter, all my Houston girls showing out this weekend. She's from Humble. We saw, of course, the starter in game one, Sam Landry, another. Ella McDowell, Cam Harrison, Bree Ellis, Courtney Day for Arkansas. H-Town heavy in this weekend.
It is very heavy, to say the least.
And I may have missed one or two because you run out of time, but we'll get back to them. In the count, 2 balls and a strike to Pickering.
And to touch on this Oklahoma offense, earlier in the first game, Robin Heron, she was working around the zone. Her balls were jumping. But later in the game, she made a few mistakes that Oklahoma made her pay for.
And that's the resilience of this Oklahoma offense. It's like facing the Dodgers or the Yankees. You can toy with them for a while, but if you do make a couple of mistakes, usually good hitters will make you pay. Good pitch on the outside corner. Burnham located perfectly to get the K to end the inning. Works around a walk. The Sooners do not score, and the Razorbacks coming in a bat.
And for Kirsten Deal, the southpaw, what Arkansas can expect to see, she likes to work east to west, heavily relying upon her curveball. She throws an off-speed pitch, but really what sets her apart is the velocity that she has up in the zone. She, too, similarly to Landry, she allows her defense to work behind her.
And she does not walk many, 8 in 33 innings. Arkansas's lineup similar but different. Johnson, Wyckoff, Ellis, the top 3. Then Reagan Kramer moves into the cleanup spot. She had the lone extra base hit in our first game. Day will be the DP. McDowell back at third. Rio, of course, at short. Davison at second. And Kennedy Miller, the catcher, will bat 9th. Reagan Johnson got a hit, drew a walk. But Oklahoma really kind of toyed with her just a bit. 5 infielders on the diamond.
And looking at this defensive shift for Reagan Johnson, she is going to be pitched outside by Kirsten Deal, focusing on Reagan Johnson driving the ball to the left side of the field. With that extra defender, it takes away the 5-6 hole.
Makes you think. And Reagan Johnson, no stranger, even back in travel ball, she was accustomed to unique formations. Every once in a while, she will say, I'll take a peek and I'll see what's out there. But she says she tries not to think of anything. But, Sydney, this whole shift forces you, I think, to be aware of how they're trying to mess with you just a bit.
Absolutely. She knows what to expect where the pitch is going to be thrown. Early in game one, she laid down a really great soft slap and beat it out, even with that 5th defender on the field.
How important is this for Deal not to miss in where she can hit a ball to right center and run for a long time?
Reagan Johnson has the ability to drive the ball to right field. She doesn't do it often based off of her spray chart, but when you come inside, she can turn on the ball.
.30 hits on the season for Reagan Johnson. See that front foot, that heel kind of hovers over the chalk as she slaps one into the screen.
And Reagan Johnson, she is farther off the plate than what she typically is. And being a former slapper myself, the only thing that I can think of is that's allowing her more room with that crossover step to get to the front corner of the box and take a harder angle to attack the outside pitch.
And she's going to wave and miss. So Johnson down on strikes to begin the bottom of the first inning.
And for Kirsten Deal, that's a big time K right there to set the tone. And this is a curveball that starts down the heart of the plate and just has such a late bite, breaking away from Reagan Johnson.
These opposing teams also and always like to see Johnson back in the dugout rather than on the bases, and this is Wyckoff, the right fielder. I don't think I ran through Kaylee for all the Houston area products. Here's another. Did have one of the 3 Razorback hits in game one, but Sydney, it was an effort for the Hawks just to get a runner in the scoring position or to third base, let alone to score. And it was a 1-0 game through 6 innings, but they got very little going against Sam Landry. Up in the zone and a wave and a miss. And down goes Wyckoff. Back-to-back Ks to begin the outing for Deal.
And for Deal, that is the rise ball that she has. That's the best pitch within her arsenal. It not only jumps through the zone, but it also jumps in velo.
Well, it's explosive up in the zone. I mean, you probably see that up as a hitter, but before you know it, it's at your neck. It's at the letters.
And you know, the thing that makes it difficult with Deal's rise ball is it doesn't start high in the zone. Her pitches all stay on the same plane, and right before it gets to the plate, it's going to take that late break up movement.
Fun matchup here with Bree Ellis. Oklahoma working her in and then away. It was a rare 0 for 3 for Bree with a couple of strikeouts, who has the 13 homers and 40 knocked in. She began the day tied with Taylor Schumacher of Florida in the home run category. Taylor has 46 runs batted in, 6 more than Bree, which is amazing because it feels like Bree Ellis has kind of led the world in some of those categories.
She leads the nation in homers. She's tied for first with 13. Her on-base percentage at .683 and her slugging percentage, her numbers are almost just unrealistic.
Yeah, OPS such a big number in the bat and ball sports, and for her to lead the country in both slug and on base is just huge. And there was a
timing violation on the pitcher.
All right.
Ball on the batter.
Patty Gasso quickly wants an explanation from Thomas Meyer. Does she think there was a reset at some point?
I'm going to presume that that's what she's arguing is probably the reset or the lack of resetting the clock. You know, it's so interesting in our game, Brett. That's not something that you see often because it is such fast pace. You do not see that clock violation hardly ever coming into effect.
That did not please the Sooners. Tell you what, so many teams were walking Bree Ellis in some of those big multi-team events early in the year. They would just go ahead and put her on regardless. So this, not an intentional walk, but that 3-1 pitch was maybe easy just to kind of, in essence, work around her and bring up Reagan Kramer, because the unique part is Kramer is off to a great beginning at .426, but she does not have the thump that Courtney Day does, and Day is batting 5th.
And one interesting thing that Coach Courtney Deifel talked about going into this weekend is why she has the 3 of them back to back to back in the order the way that she does is because they protect each other. Courtney Day typically protects Bree Ellis. Reagan Kramer typically protects Courtney Day. And it's just the positioning that they have them in the lineup. I'm not so certain that this has to be the first time that Reagan Kramer and Courtney Day have flip-flopped in the lineup.
If you're standing in the Razorback on-deck circle or the dugout, you're saying that's rise ball is going to be a big-time problem today, because you mentioned it again. You recognize it up, but that difference in those last 10, 15 feet when it gets on you rising from your belt to the letters makes it unhittable.
And as a hitter, you can scoot back in the box to see the break a lot longer than being more towards the middle, towards the front of the box.
Maybe that one not as elevated as she wanted, and Kramer fouls it away over the press box.
And one thing that I like to do whenever I was a hitter playing in college and was facing a pitcher that just had a dominant rise ball is I would set my hands up a few notches higher. I would set my eyesight lower. And my biggest focus was just hard ground ball. Get on top of it, hit a hard ground ball.
Kramer takes, and the count 2-2.
And this is one hitter that we do not see chase a lot of pitches out of the zone.
She is as disciplined of a strike zone hitter as you will find. She understands the zone, spits on that one a little bit off the corner, willing to let some pitches get deep and work counts. 17 walks already this season for Kramer, and this the 25th game. Bree Ellis will run, and that is ball 4. So back-to-back walks, and now it does bring up Courtney Day with a chance to do some damage and give Arkansas its first lead this afternoon for Courtney Deifel. 335 wins at Arkansas, former GA for Patty Gasso, and it came in kind of a quick situation where her sister was being coached by Patty Gasso, and she said, hey, see if you can find out if they need a GA. And a few days later, she's working at Oklahoma, and it started her coaching career. It's crazy sometimes to go back and think about how things work.
It's amazing how things come full circle. And for Coach Patty Gasso and Coach Courtney Deifel, the way that they have impacted and shaped the game of softball is quite impressive.
In on the hands there a bit of Courtney Day, and fouled away, and the count quickly 0-2. One of the great stories in college softball this year is the return and the success of Courtney Day. When she thought maybe her career was over, and she was already into the high school ranks back in the Houston area. 0-2 the count from Deal. And just when you start looking up, she's going to drop that one a little bit low to see if you might chase.
And that's what she does to adjust the hitter's eye level. She works up in the zone. She continues to work up in the zone to work ahead in the count, and then comes in with that off-speed drop ball.
Arkansas just trying to find a way to scratch out a run early. With game one in the books, Oklahoma has outscored their opponents 212-46. So you understand you're running uphill just a bit to begin with. And you don't want to fall behind if at all possible, but a couple of early runs might take some of the anxiousness away from Arkansas. 25th pitch in this first inning. And that's a wave and a miss. So Deal gets the 3 Ks, works around a couple of walks. 1 inning complete in game 2. No score between the Sooners and Hawks. 26-2. You go back to that Super Regional in 2018 and going through the box scores, I noticed there was somebody by the name of Sydney Parr who pinch ran in both games, scored a run in one of the contests.
Absolutely did. Yeah, it was really exciting for our program to make it to that Super Regional that year, and competing against the Oklahoma Sooners. Had the pleasure to play against OU during some fall games, and there being postseason. It's just an incredible program and team to be able to compete against.
Notice something else in the box score, and our new SID for softball, Hunter, he's trying to be the best of all time. I mean, he did a fantastic job. I'm not sure if he was drinking when he put together this box. It had Mary Half with 2 at-bats in the Super Regional.
So Mary, yes, she did pitch and hit in that series. And coming into college, Mary Half, she was a two-way player, hit some, did not hit at all that season, and then hit in that Super Regional.
Super Regional. McEnroe Marinas with a soft ground out to Brie Ellis to begin the top of the second from Peyton Burnham. She worked around 1 walk in the first and a pass ball. And this is Gabby Garcia, who extended her hitting streak to 10 straight games in the 7th inning of game 1. Also knocked in a couple of runs.
And Gabby Garcia has been absolutely dominant for this Oklahoma offensive staff. 6 of the last 7 games. She has 6 of the last 8, excuse me. She has had home runs.
Is that thing going to hug the chalk? It'll go foul. McDowell just coaxing it across the white chalk.
That just started steering foul at the very last second. Gabby Garcia kind of smiling as she walks back to the plate.
It's amazing. The next home run for the Sooners will be their 50th, and this their 25th game. And yet, you talked in game 1 about their ability to put the ball in play. Sometimes it's the small ball. It's hitting and running. So it's really hard for a team to prepare for someone who can both slug it with the best in the country and then cause problems with the small and short game as well.
It's not just the home run that they rely upon to drive in their runs. They have the ability to hit and run, bunt and run. They love putting runners in motion.
That off-speed pitch from Burnham's a good one today, too.
Her off-speed pitch is working. And the thing about Burnham's off-speed pitch, it does not stay flat through the zone. It starts right about down the middle and it drops. It's more of an off-speed drop ball than anything.
It is enough to get you both in velocity and certainly with the movement downward. This is Abigail Dayton, the right fielder. Couple of at-bats in game 1. See your season numbers.
And, you know, talking about the offense going into this weekend, Coach Courtney Deifel, she talked about just not allowing Oklahoma to have more than what they deserve. But she talked about they love to do the and runs a lot. That's how they manufacture their runs.
That's another good pitch. Just enough off the velocity, Sydney, to where you're a little bit indecisive on the swing, and then the movement, which creates some issues if you do.
The ability as a pitcher to change speeds is what will set you apart. Movement all day long, but the ability to get the hitter off balance on their front foot is what makes the difference.
And hey, if it's not broke, don't fix it. I mean, just keep pumping that thing in there. Use the team's aggressiveness against them sometimes. Looking for 2 hitless and scoreless innings. Wasn't officially a waste pitch, but she was trying to see if Dayton might chase.
And as a pitcher, until they can prove you differently, continue to utilize that pitch.
Here's the payoff. That's going to be rolled into center for a base hit. So the first hit of our game is a 2-out seeing eye single. Has Dayton and the Sooners fired up.
And for Dayton, getting deep into the count, this is that off-speed drop ball that Peyton has been utilizing, and she stays down in her lower half, just dropping her barrel on it and getting enough to push it through the infield.
Where that pitch was located and the swing that you have to put on it to put it in play, you're going to take that as a defense more often than not. You're going to assume that ball's going to be a soft ground out and an infielder, and the inning would end. Instead, it went into center, and it brings up Isabel Emmerling.
And in that swing by Dayton, she really drove her backside to get down to that pitch.
Boy, that would bug me too as a hitter if she's smiling at me. That ball dumped out towards very shallow left, and Rio, the shortstop, gets to the grass and makes the catch to end the inning. Hawks coming to bat in the bottom of the second on the tracks.
With 14 newcomers and 9 freshmen, but the prestige of Patty Gasso in this Oklahoma program, that's no problem. Typically, when you've got newcomers and freshmen, you don't know what you may get throughout the progression of the season, but they have stepped in some really big moments, and like you said, they have continued the Oklahoma prestige.
Ella McDowell, the third baseman, leads off. The one thing Coach Gasso did say this week, we haven't had to teach much the last 3 years. And that's different this season. I mean, sometimes when you get that core group together and they're winning, you can kind of plug them in, and you have an idea what you're going to get from a performance standpoint as much as you can in these bat and ball sports. But this year's been a little bit different, and sometimes I think that invigorates a coaching staff as well.
Absolutely. Getting back to the basics, building a team up. You've got a brand new team essentially starting out in the fall. That has to bring a lot of excitement to see where your team's going to get through the fall into the spring.
McDowell's going to poke one out to right. Then the throw goes to first, but she smelled a hit. Arkansas's 4th hit of the day. McDowell gets her 25th of the year. Never short of energy.
And for Ella McDowell, this pitch is on the outer part of the plate. She just drops her barrel on it, lofting it in front of Abigail Dayton in right field.
Okay, I know she wants to drive balls. She wants to hit them over the fence, but sometimes you got to fight your way on and get your team a base runner. And this is Rio. We certainly saw Dio look good in the first. She got 3 strikeouts, worked to run a couple of walks. And when you check her bio out in the Sooners website, the one thing it says about choosing Oklahoma, she chose the Sooners over South Carolina and Arkansas. So both of these 2 head coaches knew just how good she was, and obviously eye-popping numbers in high school. Pretty good bunt, the throw to first, an even better play by McEnroe Marinas to handle that soft dribbler in front of the plate and retire Rio at first.
And for Rio, she did her job there, advancing Ella McDowell into scoring position. But for McEnroe Marinas, look at this play that she makes, coming and getting this bunt with the speed of Rio, and she throws it on the run. Perfectly good slot.
That throw is incredible, as fast as she was coming down that line.
The slot that she got her arm in and throwing off of that right leg on the run, you cannot make that up any more perfect.
Usually 2 things will happen. You can't get as much on the throw as she did, or your throw isn't going to be as accurate as it ended up being.
Absolutely, but those are the type of plays that we see coming from OU time and time again.
Carly Davison was 0 for 3 in game 1. Left-hander's pitch is popped up. It's going to be back and out of play. Oklahoma had the 3 one-run games this past weekend against South Carolina. Arkansas had 2 really deflating losses at Ole Miss. Bounce back for the huge game on Sunday. Courtney Deifel said just really kind of got punched in the face a little bit.
And both coaches between last week and Coach Patty Gasso and Courtney Deifel, they talked about this past week in practice really honing in on pitching-wise, executing, and making adjustments offensively.
And then Davison will wear one. In Arkansas with a couple of base runners. I think that's the other aspect about playing Oklahoma. You understand you may not have a tremendous amount of opportunities. Arkansas left a couple of runners in the first with 2 outs. They have a couple of runners aboard. This isn't going to happen every inning. You've got to come through at some point to cash these in to try and put some runs on the board.
It's finding it any way that you can, but it's in the moments when you have a runner in scoring position, stepping up and getting the job done.
Here's Kennedy Miller, couple of home runs on the year. Coming off a tremendous freshman campaign, batting 9th. Soft flare to right that Dayton will climb underneath and make the catch for the second out. Now, Sydney, with Reagan Johnson coming back to the plate, do you shift as dramatically when there's a couple of runners on base? Does that change how you want to defend Reagan at all? And maybe not, because here comes the sprint to be the 5th infielder from Dayton.
I was going to say earlier in the game, they're going to stick to this shift with runners in scoring position. Reagan Johnson, she's really been utilizing the ground for a good part of this season. She does have the ability to power slap, though, too. That's not something that to take away from her.
3 runs batted in this season for Johnson. Couple of teammates out there. One other thing I noticed with Deal, as a hitter trying to pick up whether she's giving you that rise ball or not, she kind of has a rocking maneuver as she gets ready. You're not sure if that ball's coming out of the glove or she's just going to bounce a little bit. Right here, she starts bouncing, and that glove's bouncing.
She keeps it in her glove for a very long time on the forward part of her motion, which as a hitter, that could throw off your tempo in the box.
You're just trying to find it. You're trying to see it. You're trying to identify the pitch.
That's why as a hitter, though, it's very important, no matter what the pitcher's doing through her lineup, you look at the space by her release leg.
Johnson takes high, 2-2. Arkansas has made Deal work a little bit. 40 pitches, trying to get through 2 scoreless innings. McDowell at second, Davison at first. Slap back to the screen. We'll do it again.
And as an offense, you want to run that pitcher's pitch count up as early as you can in the game, because that's just more information that you're able to gain to bring back to the dugout of what she's throwing in certain counts. The more information you have, the better as you progress throughout the game.
Another big pitch to Reagan Johnson, another one fouled away. Tell you what, Johnson's mother and I would get along fine. She says Mom will keep track of her hits, and she'll say, hey, you need 2 to get to 30, or you need to get 1 to get to 50, and you need more hits. And I feel like I resemble that remark as I follow my kids. Like, hey, we need more hits. Here's what we need to get to. And Mom also says she needs to steal more bases. Right now, she wants her to get another hit and get a big one.
It's almost like a game within the game.
Hit tracking, parent, you know, you got
a family game within the game.
I always laugh
it.
when people say, I have no idea how many hits, what the numbers are. I'm like, well, I know exactly all the numbers, and there are parents that probably do the same thing. And then she gets so many, it's hard to keep track, but she's in a battle here with Deal. Laid off the rise ball, and the count's gone full. So now the runners get the benefit of being able to take off, and an extra base hit might have a chance to score a pair as shallow as the 2 outfielders are playing. Big pitch early in this game. The payoff to Johnson. Guess what? She pokes another one into that screen. McEnroe Marinas is getting to know some of those Razorbacks quite well in that third base dugout.
Reagan Johnson, this does go down as a quality at bat, reaching 8 pitches within the at bat. And right now, with the way that her form's looking, she's looking at driving this ball to the left center field gap.
It feels like she's trying to elevate just a little, make hard contact. Another payoff pitch. Deal went down in the zone. She gets the K, and Arkansas has stranded 4 runners through a couple of innings. Deal had to work. She got the duck game job done, and it keeps us scoreless.
And for Coach Courtney Deifel, I can say the biggest thing from her pregame conversations is culture. The way that she has turned this program around, it has to do a lot with the culture that she has implemented here for this program and for every player that steps through and has a lasting impact on the Arkansas Razorback staff.
I think they felt like they overachieved a bit last year and then had the disappointing ending at home in a regional, something they like to get past. But then you come into a new league with teams like Oklahoma and Texas, where not only does it not get easier, it becomes the super mega conference of college softball.
And she even talked about the transition from last season to this season, getting back to what the culture is. But the good thing that she said about this team this year is they want to be coached and they want to be great.
Nice mix of veterans and young players as well, as Agbayani bats for the second time. Got to tell you what, though, I didn't get a chance to call Agbayani's father's games in the big leagues. He was a little bit before my time. But when I see the number 50, I smile, because that was the number that Benny wore. And there was a reason, of course. 50, Hawaii was the 50th state, so you kind of represent your state. And Oklahoma has enjoyed Agbayani. And I tell you what, Arkansas has been overrun by tremendous Hawaiians playing baseball right now. They've got 3 of them. And Benny wore number 50. It was his calling card, and his daughter does the same.
You've got to love it. And for Benny, we talked about it in game 1, but nearly 400 games across 5 seasons in the MLB, playing sister playing at BYU.
There's no doubt.
And her brother is currently committed to play Division I baseball.
Tell you what, if her brother is as good as she is, her dad, I'd like to introduce them to the Aloys and Nolan Souza. It's just, it's a Hawaii pipeline right now for this Arkansas baseball team. But she said her favorite team growing up was the Mets. Her favorite athlete was her dad. There's no surprise. And she's going to hit a little chopper back to the circle. Burnham has to recover and make the play. Once that ball started to roll behind her, I didn't know if she could pounce on it quickly enough to get the out, but she did. Nice recovery.
A very nice recovery by Burnham, as she does get a glove on this ground ball, and especially with the speed of Agbayani being able to recover and gun it over to first base to get the out.
And it brings up Ella Parker. I got a kick, though, out of some of the bios that they have on the Sooners, and Ella Parker says her favorite team is the Dodgers. I mean, maybe she likes U.S. Steel or she likes other monopolies because she's rooting for the best baseball team in the world, and then she plays on a softball team that's 24-0.
Well, I'll tell you why she probably likes the Dodgers is because her uncle is Dave Roberts.
That's a great reason.
The manager of the Los Angeles Dodgers.
And the world champion L.A. Dodgers, and had a chance last year to visit with Dave in his office before a game and watch that team then go on to win the World Series. That one's popped up to Davison, and she'll make the catch. So, tell you what, she plays and roots for some good ones. Burnham's been a good one today for the Hogs, still scoreless. Good old time in Sydney. I got to believe there's a few Razorback fans that might feel a little bit overwhelmed by the number of Sooner fans that have made their presence known here today.
It's exciting getting to see Sooner fans and Arkansas fans coming together. We've heard the Boomer Sooner. We've heard the Woo Pig. We're getting the best of both worlds here today at Bogle Park.
Well, yes, we are. Wyckoff's going to lead things off. It's 2, 3, and 4 for the Razorbacks in the bottom of the 3rd inning. Hogs have left 4 on base. Wyckoff, one of 4 strikeouts that Deal has recorded. Hard hit and fair. It's down the line and right to the fence. Dayton's going to pick it up. Wyckoff has a stand-up double to begin the Razorback 3rd inning. The second extra base hit they've had all day, both in the same corner.
And this is the momentum that you want as an offense. For Kaylee Wyckoff, this ball is up and in. She gets her barrel out in front and stays long through extension, driving it in that right corner wall for the stand-up double.
So Bree Ellis has a runner in scoring position. The 40 runs batted in this year. That's a good pitch, just catching the corner for strike one. Amazing numbers for Bree Ellis. It's hard to maintain that for a couple of weeks, let alone a month plus. She reaches for one and grounds one fair. The throw will be a little bit high off the glove of Sanders. Ellis will go to second. Wyckoff to third. McEnroe Marinas made the nice stop, but the throw just carried beyond the reach of Sanders, and that was a pitch on the outside corner that she went out and got and hooked it down the third base line.
And this pitch is on the outer part of the plate that she gets her barrel around, and what a play by McEnroe Marinas over there at third, showing the leather. But for Bree Ellis, she got around that pitch and found a way to advance Kaylee Wyckoff.
That's why she's so tough to pitch to. Even on that outside corner, she's going to go out and get it. Maybe you're going to get some ground ball outs, but it's not as if she doesn't have the ability to hit that ball hard to the pull side.
And for Bree Ellis, she hits both sides of the plate so well, but the power that she has to get around an outside pitch is outstanding.
And here's Reagan Kramer, walked back in the first. So at 50 pitches, Deal still trying to get the first out in this third inning. Courtney Deifel put Kramer on the cleanup spot for game two. She bats with a couple of teammates in scoring position, a hit and an error on that previous play.
With no outs here, runners at second and third, it's great to drive the ball in the gap, but even getting the ball to the right side of the field would be great situational hitting here.
That one stroked into right center for a base hit. Wyckoff will score with nobody out. Ellis will be held at third. The Razorbacks have scored their first run. They have their first lead today. And Kramer continues an amazing beginning to her year. You get caught up in the Ellis and Day numbers because of the thump, but my goodness, Reagan Kramer is getting on base and getting her hits.
And that pitch is on the outer part of the plate that she gets her barrel around and drives it just enough to drive in Kaylee Wyckoff.
Well, if the Razorbacks want to get a little bit greedy, you wouldn't blame them. They have a run, but this is a case Sydney with first and third. They do not want to see this inning end with only this one run coming across.
And this is where the game right here picks up momentum. It is a game of momentum. And right there with runners in scoring position, no outs, Reagan Kramer did what she does best, stepping up in a big moment and finding a way to get a run across.
Circle visit for the Sooners. Courtney Day, the scheduled hitter. And what Arkansas did by getting 4 runners on base in the first couple of innings, they did it oftentimes with 2 outs or with 1 out. They've started this inning with 3 straight base runners. And Day, who struck out her only time in, will bat. Now, it's interesting, you know, stats, I guess sometimes you can be overwhelmed by them. There was something that jumped out at me in the third inning this year. Before today, the Sooners had outscored their opponents 42-1 in the third inning. It's like their opponents just didn't show up, whether that's the bottom of the lineup against the top of their lineup. 42-1, but Arkansas has scored a run, and maybe they won't get one here because that fly ball really shallow to right, and Dayton will make the catch. So Day would probably like to have that sequence back. That's the first out.
Those numbers stand out
42-1?
immensely.
Ella McDowell, the freshman, blooped a single in her right, back in the second. She said about her personality this year, there's not an off switch. She said wherever she's at, she's loud and annoying. And this talented freshman, who played a lot of shortstop in high school and the travel ball ranks, has been playing third. She's been in this lineup since day one, which is really no surprise. Pulls the bat back, and that was a pretty good pitch to hit. She'll take it for a strike. Early in the year, though, she was between Wyckoff and Ellis in the lineup, which was a great position to be. As you move a little further down that lineup, maybe not as much thump behind you, but constantly evolving. 1-1 the count. Fouled back to the screen.
And for Ella McDowell, she is no stranger with runners in scoring position, finding a way to get them across. She's batting .304 with runners in scoring position. Yeah, the lineups typically don't end up being, once you get into conference play, what they start off as. Once you kind of get into the groove and find what that mold is, that's when the offense usually gets more set.
Diving stuck by Agbayani, and she'll get the out at first. McDowell retired, but Bree Ellis will score. Agbayani may have saved an additional run this inning by making a tremendous play at second base, but McDowell will take the RBI in Arkansas with a 2-0 lead.
And for Ella McDowell, this is great situational hitting, getting the ball to the right side of the field to drive in a run. And for Agbayani making a full-out effort, this is the second great play of the day that we have seen her make at second base.
Well, there's no doubt. What a tremendous effort. Off the bat, Sydney, I just thought that had enough juice to squirt through.
I thought the same thing, but the range that she has at second base is tremendous.
Riho dropped down a good sacrifice bunt in her previous plate appearance. That's 60 pitches right now for Deal through 2 2/3 innings.
And Arkansas has really gotten her pitch count up there early in the game. They're laying off of pitches that are biting around the zone. And when it shows up at in the zone, they're attacking it.
Lefty-lefty matchup and the 2-1 pitch. Well, she got tied up on that swing. That's one of those swings where you start and you're like, I'm not going to hit this pitch.
And that is just a late breaking pitch that jumps through the zone. That is a tough pitch.
Kramer, the runner at second. That is a mile-high pop-up. Dayton underneath it. She'll make the catch. Yesterday, the winds would have caused all kinds of problems. Not that time, but Arkansas gets a pair. And the Razorbacks have a 2-0 lead. I think the one thing the Sooners know, Sydney, and it's not just this team or in previous years, they're going to get everybody's best shot because you have everyone's attention when you're undefeated or you're a four-peat national champion.
Absolutely. They are going to get everyone's best game because when they play opponents, the opponent is wanting to take down the #1 team in the country.
Sometimes you just don't get that many opportunities to do so. And now Burnham working with a 2-run lead against the heart of the lineup. Sydney Sanders line softly to shorten her only at bat, and Kennedy Miller has an equipment issue.
And for the Sooners, it's just the energy that they provide and that they supply offensively in the circle. And for Coach Patty Gasso, her staple to her coaching is the defense.
We've seen a little bit of that today. And, of course, you don't get to be 24-0 without impressive contributions all the way around in the circle. Defensively, certainly mentioned their home run away from 50 long balls on the year. That one sent out to the gap in left center, and Kramer makes the catch. She and Johnson have played together a lot, and there was that indecisive moment when I thought maybe they were going to arrive at the same time and collide, or one was going to have to stop, but they've been through that drill a time or two.
And with the ground that they both can cover in the outfield right there, I'm sure there was complete communication between Reagan Kramer and Reagan Johnson, telling Reagan Kramer that she's got that, but that's a great job tracking down that ball.
And this is Pickering, who struck out back in the first. See the 7 home runs for Cassidy.
And for Coach Courtney Deifel, I'm sure she is pleased to see the response that her team just gave in the bottom of the third inning. You know, Brett, in SEC play, every pitch, every swing, it takes a lot of emotion and it's intense, especially playing a doubleheader in the same day. There's two options. You can either respond and come back that second game of the doubleheader, or you could allow what happened in game one to linger. And this Arkansas team, they've fought back so far in this game too.
Well, she said about that series at Ole Miss last weekend, we learned some hard lessons with two really terrible days. Then they get 20 runs. And sometimes, you know, teams that are on the wrong end of 500 in league action will lose a couple of games and then they'll explode. And you'll feel good about that one game, but you still have lost the series. So then they come out, they don't play yesterday, they get shut out in game one. They've had a really nice response here in game two. Pickering takes one down, 2-2. Young lady who last year as a freshman started 64 games and played in all 66. Drove in 51 runs, hit 12 homers. Obviously, there's a lot of power there, 7 already this season. And you can see Burnham working away, and she misses, and the count's gone full.
And between the two seasons, she has been the heart and the anchor of this Sooners offense.
From Atascocita High School, another one of my H-Town girls. She's going to wave and miss. Burnham's going to get the K. She has to fire one to first to complete the strikeout to Bree Ellis. That's now 6 in a row set down by Burnham.
And for Peyton Burnham, she is utilizing that off-speed drop ball to keep these Sooner hitters off balance. It starts low and it ends low. Burnham is using that pitch pretty precisely.
That's filthy.
It absolutely is.
Not sure what Pickering was doing with her arms in the air. If she was trying to have the throw hit her arms, I'm not sure.
Maybe a little distraction.
Our plate umpire went and said something to Patty Gasso. I don't know if it would fall into the category, let's not do that again, or whether it was about something else. That's how I would run to second base if I was picked off first. I'd be throwing my arms in the air and running in front of a throw, just hoping to get hit. This is McEnroe Marina. She rolled out to first back in the second. Couple of hits, couple of runs batted in the 7-0 Sooners win. The first game of our doubleheader. She had a couple of 3-run homers in the same game this past weekend against South Carolina. Been about 3 years since that had been done in Sooner softball lore. Things traveled in threes. They did so twice for Nellie. This would be a huge inning, though, for Burnham if she's able to put up a 0 after her teammates got a couple of runs in the bottom of the third.
Continue to carry on the momentum. One characteristic word that Coach Patty Gasso utilized for McEnroe Marinas is her professionalism. I've not heard that in a long time, but just her professionalism all the way around on the diamond.
Pretty good take. She'll draw the walk. Second walk issued by Burnham. I would normally say a 2-out walk isn't the worst thing in the world, but here comes Garcia riding a 10-game hitting streak. During the 9-game streak, she homered in 5 straight games. And she was the first OU freshman to do that since someone by the name of Jocelyn Allo.
Definitely rings a bell.
Yeah, it should. March of 2018. She did nothing but homer.
But that's what it was.
5 straight games for Gabby Garcia. Arizona native. Long ball here would tie things up. Even her foul balls are loud.
The way that she swings the bat, it is so efficient, but it's so aggressive. Every swing that she takes, she swings it with intent.
Her mom was a Hall of Fame softball player at Arizona State, member of the Arizona Softball Foundation. A liner That's going to roll to the gap in right center field. It's going to go all the way to the fence. Garcia's got extra bases. The throw to third is going to be in time to end the frame. McEnroe Marinas does score from first on the double to make this a 2-1 game. So the Sooners get the run. The Razorbacks get the third out of the frame.
And for Gabby Garcia, finding a way to secure a run for the Oklahoma Sooners. She drives it past Carly Davison at second, all the way to the wall, and the wheels of McEnroe Marinas scores. Throughout the course of this 2025 season, it has been a total team performance where pitching is concerned. In and out of games, utilizing 2 to 3 pitchers a game. Last game, we saw Sam Landry. She took the game 1 through 7 innings. But for this Oklahoma staff, it has been pitched by a committee this season, which I think there's something to be said about that. As you progress throughout the course of season, conference play, you get into postseason. It's really postseason where I think that comes in handy, pitching by committee, when the competition gets tougher and there's a lot on the line.
Follow-up to that is Davison bats 8, 9, and 1 due up this inning. Sometimes I think the mark of a great head coach from a position player standpoint is when to maybe rest a veteran and give a bench player an opportunity, and then to see them both have success either that game or the next. I think when you're working with pitchers, it's to get them out sooner than later to make that change before an implosion. That ball rocketed to right. Dayton back. She'll make a nice running grab on the Davison liner that I thought for a second might just get over her head. She made the play. She likes to play shallow, but she was able to get back quickly and make that catch.
What a play by Abigail Dayton. Playing shallow, like you said, Brett. She tracks this down on the warning track. As a former outfielder, I love to see plays like that. It's the speed, it's the athleticism, but the ability to track a ball down, that's hit that solid.
Really impressive as Miller bats. I guess to finish my thought, sometimes it's the ability to know when you need to make a change and bring somebody new in that can really alter or change games.
Absolutely. And for the Oklahoma pitching staff, they're versatile. They can start games, they can come in and shut the door when need be, or come in relief when there's a time that the pitcher needs to be relieved, to your point.
And the pitch count for Deal really kind of jumped up early. She's trying to get back on track. She's dealt with base runners in all 3 innings. A quick and efficient bottom of the 4th after a team scored in the top of the inning might kind of allow her to settle in, although there is activity going for the Sooners in the bullpen. Popped up. Agbayani. Very shallow center, makes the catch to retire Miller. And there's 2 gone for the top of the lineup in Reagan Johnson.
And when we talk about 2 powerful offenses like Oklahoma and Arkansas, talking about Coach Courtney Deifel, what she said about the Oklahoma offense, Coach Patty Gasso said the same thing. She doesn't want to allow them free bases and definitely keep the ball in the yard with the way that they have the ability to hit the long ball.
You'd have to go back a long time, I got to believe, to see a game where Reagan Johnson is 0 for 2 with 2 strikeouts. In her career, she's had 54 multi-hit games. There's a lot of players that would love to have 54 hits, let alone 54 games of 2 or more. And Oklahoma's done their best to kind of keep her from setting the table for the rest of this potent Arkansas lineup. She's going to be seeing 5 infielders in her sleep, though, tonight.
I was about to say that. I don't think that Reagan Johnson is feeling this, but when you pull in that 5th infielder, it just applies a little bit more pressure that you do have to be precise if you're going to place the ball.
Well, they're trying to take away something that she's really good at. Now,
It's
part
the
of
soft
that is
slap and the chop slap.
you've got to be able to pitch to the shift, too, and I think that's the one thing Oklahoma has been able to do. So many times in the college baseball ranks, I'll see teams shift and they can't pitch to it. In other words, you play somebody to pull, you run a pitch on the outside corner, the hitter could just reach out, kind of flick it through an open hole into the outfield. But the Sooners have pitched the way they've wanted to against her.
Very good point.
But the count is 3-1. You don't want to walk her, though, by trying to necessarily get her to chase. And they did. So 2-out walk. It's what Oklahoma had in the top of the fourth when I said, that's not that big of a deal. And then a double produced a run, and Arkansas would like to follow suit.
And for leadoff hitters, specifically slappers, just going back to Reagan Johnson really quickly, the thing that I find the most value in is her .467 on base percentage.
Wyckoff sends one into the seats. Sydney, things have become a little bit harder to steal bases with the rules changes in recent years. I love a two-out stolen base because then only a single is needed to score a run. Would you consider it all running Johnson here?
Still being early in the game, I definitely think there's opportunity to chance it. But at the same time, with the way the offense is seeing the ball right now, really honing in on just going base to base. There has been those gap timely hits as well that they've been able to produce so far.
13 stolen bases. Counts 1-2. Wyckoff doubled back in the third, scored the first Arkansas run. This past fall, Softball America ranked Arkansas's transfer class in the top 10. Wyckoff was 8th overall. Davison was part of that, but that ranking didn't take into effect Courtney Day because she came at the break. Wyckoff was the big get early. She's going to wave and miss. Goes down on strikes. Deal gets the K. Arkansas stranded 6, but the Hogs maintain a 1-run lead. Away from the heart of the plate or big innings.
I would agree with that completely, Brett. And the thing is the pitch sequences that they're utilizing, they're getting ahead earlier in the counts to both offenses, and then they're being very selective with where they're throwing their pitches once they get ahead in those counts.
Makes sense.
And we've seen both offenses today. They've chased more out of the zone than I think what we typically see, but it's due to the fact that Deal and Burnham are getting ahead in the count.
I think sometimes as a hitter you get a little anxious. You're like, well, I've got to swing at something. I got to get something I can drive, and then you end up swinging at a pitch that maybe isn't a hitter's pitch. Dayton singled back in the second. California native. Boy, that ball's just tattooed. Hit so hard it's going to split the outfielders and roll all the way to the fence, and that's going to be a double for Dayton to begin the fifth. Kind of magnifies Garcia getting thrown out trying to stretch a double to a triple last inning, but that ball was absolutely tattooed.
And for Dayton, this ball is blistered past Burnham, right back up the middle, past Davison, and gets in that right center field gap. She gets every piece of that pitch.
It would have been something had Davison made the catch. That would have been one former Ute retiring another. Teammates in Utah.
It definitely would have worked that way.
Here's Emmerling. All right, Sydney, bottom of the lineup. There'd be a lot of teams right now trying to advance Dayton and play a little bit of small ball. What do you think the Sooners will do? Because you look at Emmerling's home run number, 7. There's a lot of 8-hole hitters in the country that aren't close to 7 home runs.
And she has the ability to drive it in the gap, taking away not having to bunt and get the out at first. I could see her standing in the box and swinging away right here.
Looks like she's loaded for bear. Line to short back in the second.
But make no mistake, though, Coach Gasso, she does like to bunt and advance runners.
Feels like kind of a big pitch, and that is just clubbed a mile but foul towards the tree and rattling through a few branches on the way down. Emmerling played at North Carolina last year. Drove in 53 runs, big swing, and she came up empty, and it's 2-2. "14 homers last season with the Tar Heels. And that one fouled back to the screen. Arkansas got the first 2 runs. Sooners got a run in the 4th. Leadoff double here in the 5th, and that ball is launched to the berm and left, and it is gone. Emmerling hits a 2-run homer, and the Sooners have taken a 3-2 advantage. Home run number 8, and that's the power they have at the bottom of the lineup. A no-doubter.
And for Isabella Emmerling leading up to that swing, every swing that she took within that bat was with complete intent. This pitch is on the lower inside part of the plate. She drives her backside to get her barrel down to this pitch, and the extension through her swing enables her to drive it over the left center field wall.
Not a terrible pitch. Maybe it split the plate. It was probably at the bottom of the zone, but she went out and got it.
Not a terrible pitch at all, but in that at bat, there was intent behind Emmerling's swing with getting her barrel out in front. And that swing right there, that's exactly what she did. And that's the off-speed drop ball that Burnham's been throwing,
You're
but
right.
she just was hunting that pitch.
3 unanswered by the Sooners, and this is Hannah Core. We didn't get to talk about her when she stepped up in the 3rd. She tried to bunt on the first pitch of the inning. She was growing up, she wanted to be a UFC fighter, so you know she's probably got a toughness gear to her that not everybody has. I'm guessing you didn't want to be a UFC fighter when you
all props to her. I did not want to be a UFC fighter, but I would have to imagine she's got some grit and some toughness to her.
But Emmerling's home run this inning, the 50th for the Sooners in 25 games. It's put Oklahoma in front, and now there's still nobody out, so Core and Agbayani and Parker have a chance to add to this total.
And these pitches that they are attacking that are going straight back to the backstop, what that shows for an offense is that they are seeing the ball really well and they are on it, just missing it by an inch.
70 pitches into her outing for the freshman Burnham. City, we talk so much about experienced hitters when they see a pitcher for the second time. Maybe the scouting report is spot on, or maybe there's something a little bit different, but you start to get a little more comfortable. In baseball, you hate to go 3rd time through. We're really close to turning this lineup over.
Right, and it's all about making adjustments as you go from at bat to at bat, and we saw that with Emmerling's swing on the home run.
Nice play by Burnham to get the first out. She did not want that ball to squirt by her. First out of the inning.
It's understanding what the pitcher is throwing, and in that next at bat, using your approach and putting it into play.
Here's Agbayani, 0 for 2. Went 3 for 3 with 5 runs scored back on Wednesday in their win against Tulsa. That was a road game at Tulsa. They love their softball in that state. Well, it's like a pretty good pitch. Didn't get the low strike. Popped up. McDowell will make the call on the catch, and there's 2 outs. Next one will be the 75th pitch for Burnham, facing Parker, who's popped to second and walked. Started 58 games a year ago. Should be playable for Kramer. She started back and had to come racing on to make the catch, and the inning ends. But Sydney, the damage was done by Isabella Emmerling
And the Oklahoma Sooners take the lead, and it was by one swing from Isabella Emmerling. She demolishes this drop ball low in the zone to put the Sooners ahead 3-2.
Third, the Sooners have scored the last 3. So the Hogs run short as they have the heart of their lineup in the 5th. Ellis, Kramer, and Courtney Day. Patty Gasso knows the hitting coach on the other side, her son DJ. DJ said earlier this week that his goal was to try and make his mom smile in game. I don't know if he succeeded or not. He's locked in right now with Bree Ellis, who had a single and reached and scored in the 3rd. She never thought her 2 boys would be softball coaches, but here we are. That one should sneak across the fence and will. She did say this week that when they get together for family functions, they don't talk softball, but DJ's the one who keeps bringing it up. So maybe he's the softball conversation starter. Right now, I think what he's enjoyed this entire year is being able to coach athletes like Bree Ellis and Courtney Day and Reagan Kramer, who will all bat this inning.
And Coach Patty Gasso, of course, praises both of her sons with the knowledge and the ability that they have as coaches. And she spoke more to this game in this series being more of a celebration for she and her family and something to remember. Obviously, it's some family competition.
Another bullet hit by Bree Ellis. Leadoff single here in the bottom of the 5th. They're keeping her in the park. She's still hitting lasers. Yeah, there's some competition. It's unique. I know a lot of coaches that don't want to play their friends, let alone their family members, as you see Bree again take a pitch that's outside and make hard contact with the end of her bat.
And the ability that she has driving that outside pitch to the center left part of the field. One thing that I have noticed this game from the first game is she's scooted more up on the plate. She's not standing as far off of the plate as she was in game 1.
So you think she's anticipating being pitched in that same spot?
Yes, and in game 1, Sam Landry, she was really busting Bree Ellis inside. This game, they're going more out and away. She's
I guess
made
you
a good
feel
adjustment.
like if she can hit that pitch, it's not going to go over the fence. I mean, you'll take your cracks on keeping her at first, then seeing her trot around the bases. Reagan Kramer had the RBI single in the 3rd that put the Hogs up 1-0. The Topeka native. Kramer has that batting average up to .438. You played this deep into the year. You see a 4 on your first number, or a 5 for Bree Ellis, or Coffey of LSU, or Parker of Oklahoma. You know you've had a great beginning. 2-2.
And for Reagan Kramer, so many of her statistics show the consistency she has for a hitter in this lineup, but also just with having 1 strikeout on the season. That's the biggest thing that stands out to me, is only 1 strikeout on the season.
See if you jinxed her. Not that time. 3-2 the count. Yeah, Courtney said this week that she thinks the game like a coach. She's directing everybody from left field. She knows everybody's role. Been in this program now for a few years. It's something we don't get a lot of in today's day and age with 1- and 2-year players transferring in. Count's gone full. Fouled back.
And another thing that I think makes a player great is constantly staying curious, having curiosity. Coach Courtney talked about how Reagan, she doesn't question. She just always has a lot of questions to ask as to why things were done or how did that happen.
I like how she puts that. And no surprise, another walk from Kramer. Her 2nd of the game. Arkansas has a couple of runners on base, so DJ Gasso hoping his hitters have a big inning in them to go up against mom and brother. And of course, Dad's also in the coaching tree, so tell you what, that's the family business, isn't it?
That's the family business for the Gassos, and so much to be proud of, and the impact that they have each had in the game of softball.
And if a bus drove over your leg, DJ could walk out, pick it up, and move it off you.
Something like that.
You might have that strength. Fans calling the Hogs as Oklahoma will use this opportunity for a quick visit in the circle before Courtney Day bats. In fact, is that going to be it for Deal at 90 pitches? And that will be the case. We'll take a pitching change break. Come back, tell you the new pitcher right after this. Nobody out, and one North Carolina native pitcher replaces another. This is Isabella Smith.
And what Arkansas can expect from Isabella Smith is she works quickly to get ahead in the count, has an array of pitches. She's able to utilize her rise ball at different levels. And outside of that, she likes to stay consistent working east to west.
There's her scouting report for Isabella Smith, inheriting Bree Ellis at second, Reagan Kramer at first. Courtney Day 0 for 2, the Pearland Dawson High School product, the 24-year-old. How about that? Drops down a bunt. Is she going to beat this out? She does not. Pretty good throw to cut down Day, but Ellis to third, Kramer to second with one gone.
And for Courtney Day, she has the ability to drive the ball, but just getting the bunt down to advance the runners with no outs, that is executing at its
Cindy,
finest.
if I had to bet, I'm thinking she's doing this on her own. I don't think they're asking her to do this.
I think she made the decision, and it was the right decision. Being a 3-2 ball game, that's a decision you want to make time and time again.
Here's Ella McDowell, a single and a hard ground out for an RBI. Good pitch at the belt for a strike. That might have been one of those that Ella would like to have back. Take a swing at. Infield creeping in a little bit. That one poked in her right for a base hit. Ellis will score. Kramer to third. And this game is tied at 3. Second RBI for Ella McDowell.
And for Ella McDowell, she has been driving the ball to the right side of the field, staying on it all day long. And this swing right here by Ella McDowell, it's a drop ball on the outer part of the plate that she stays on at contact and stays through extension to drive in another run and to tie this ball game up for the Arkansas Razorbacks.
And with Ellis at third and one out, the infielders were creeping in just a bit. They wanted to have a chance to maybe throw Ellis out at the plate or keep her from scoring, and McDowell hits one through. And here's Rio. She's going to bunt. Arkansas has taken the lead, a couple of bunts this inning, and they've cashed in a pair of runs, and it's 4-3 Arkansas.
And what a call right there by Coach Courtney Deifel. The squeeze was on all day long. And that's how to gain some momentum right there. Haven't seen a squeeze called in a long time. Rio squares around as McDowell is running all day.
Boy, it's hard to do that with a left-handed batter, too. But Arkansas has 2 runs on 2 singles and a couple of bunts as well, providing the 2 outs this inning. Both runs charged to Deal. And it brings up Davison.
And my apologies, that was Kramer at third.
So Ellis and Kramer have scored this inning. McDowell and Rio have knocked in runs. Fouled right back to the screen. Carly, another individual with family members that have played Major League Baseball. Scott, her dad was a 4th-round pick by the Expos in '88, played professionally for 11 years. Both of her grandfathers played pro baseball, Padres and Angels organization. It's going to be fouled away down the right field side into the bullpen.
And to add to the connection for Ella Parker, Davidson's dad is the head baseball instructor and program manager at the LA Dodgers Training Academy.
Love it. There's a chopper up the middle. Cut off by Garcia. Makes a nice play to win the inning. If that one sneaks through, Arkansas gets another run. As is, they played it a pair to take the lead through 5. Backs next 3 runs to the Sooners, and the Hogs get a couple of runs in the bottom of the 5th to regain the lead. This has been entertaining back and forth contest.
This has been a classic game of softball with dominance in the circle, but then the offense is finding a way to fight every single pitch, every single swing to get runs across the plate.
Heart of the lineup for the Sooners here in the 6th. 3rd time through against Burnham. Soft liner right to Davison. So Sanders retired. Carly took that one off her shoe tops.
And for Davison staying down on that line drive that was tailing down.
Sure was.
Words, that's a good play.
What have you seen out of Peyton Burnham today?
Peyton Burnham, she just has been filling up the zone early in the count, working ahead in the count. She's done a really great job of keeping the Oklahoma Sooners off balance. Outside of the 2-run home run, really for the most part, she's been utilizing her off-speed drop ball to get the outs.
You know, Pickering would like to come through after a couple of strikeouts, so Peyton has won this battle to this point. Checks her swing and dumps one foul down the line and left. Back on March the 4th, Pickering, Softball America's Star of the Week. Homered 4 times, drove in 12. Then she turned it over to her teammate, Nellie McEnroe-Marinas, the following week. That one almost clipped our plate umpire Thomas Meyer on his mask, and it may have. I think Kennedy caught it. Then the glove deflected into the mask of our umpire. That's a nice how do you do. Smoked. How far will this one fly? When it lands, we have a tie game. Pickering with their 8th home run of the season, and it's a 4-4 contest. A no-doubter way up on the hill in right center. That was gone from the moment it left her bat.
And you were right about that, Brett. The second that ball made contact with her barrel, that was out of the park. And this swing by Pickering, she gets every piece of this pitch. She loads back on her backside. Ball is up in the zone. Her barrel gets to it, and she just drives it almost to the second wrought iron fence.
You don't see many balls that land there to right field. And that's going to do it for Burnham. Arkansas is going to make the change. Peyton pitched really well, but a couple of home runs, 2-run shot from Emmerling, and the solo home run from Pickering have provided some problems, and we'll step aside. Game 1, the 8 walks kind of jump out at you. 124 pitches. Sometimes pitches and pitch counts go hand in hand, and she inherits a 4-4 game here in the top of the 6th.
And with it being a tie ball game in the top of the 6th, Robin Heron's getting a chance of revenge. What they can expect again from Robin Heron is she's going to work vertically through the zone, utilizing her rise ball and off-speed pitch to offset that rise ball. And one thing we saw from Heron last game is she really started to utilize her curve and screwball as the game progressed on. And in game 1, too, before the 7th inning, it was really the 3rd inning that Heron's changeup started playing an effect. Really kept the Oklahoma hitters off balance, and it was that 7th inning that they made the adjustment and started attacking that pitch.
You think back to her start at Ole Miss a week ago Friday. That one's tattooed over the glove of McDowell into the corner. Kramer can't play the carom. McEnroe-Marinas is going to have a double, greeting Heron. Arkansas gave up a couple of unearned runs in that start against Ole Miss, and then she gave up a long ball late, and the score was not as indicative of how well she pitched, but it got away late. Well, this was a 1-0 game in game 1 before the Sooners scored 6 times to make it a 7-0 final. But Robin's right back in there in game 2 here today. And Gabby Garcia drove in a run with a double back in the fourth, the first Sooner tally of the game. We don't chart exit velocity in your sport like we do in mine. If we did, I'd be really curious on a few of the numbers of some of these balls we've seen in the last couple of innings.
Gosh, I wish we could, Brett, because that last home run that was hit, I would love to see what the exit velo was on it.
Hard and loud would be the two descriptive words. But all of a sudden, the Sooners with a runner in scoring position representing the go-ahead run in the sixth. Clips the screen, and it's going to almost end up in our press box. That would have been a magic shot had that thing ricocheted in.
And it looks like Arkansas's SID was attempting to grab it out of the window.
There was an attempt. Arkansas needs it out. Heron's pitch floats in at the top of the zone for a called strike. I think that's one of those, if Garcia's in the box, maybe it's called a ball because she's standing there. She exits. The ball's caught, I thought, a little bit up, but Robin gets the call. Mile high pop up on the right side of the diamond. Davison will call off Ellis and make the grab for the second out. Exit velocity generates some big league pop-ups, and we've had a few of those today. And lucky for everybody, the wind's barely blowing, unlike yesterday when it was 30, 40 miles an hour.
Yeah, it's a good thing that the game yesterday got moved to today.
That might have hit the fence.
With the way that the winds were.
Abigail Dayton doubled in the fifth, part of a two-run frame for the Sooners that put them in front. Now she's trying to pick up her teammate McEnroe Marinas from second and give the Sooners a lead again. Each team 4 runs, each team 6 hits. Up in the zone again, it's 2-0.
You know, I never like to say something like this because I personally am not someone that just has expectations. But this is what I expected from these two teams being matched up this weekend, as a game exactly like what we're seeing right now.
One more game to go. It's actually tomorrow morning. It'll be the linear telecast of the bunch.
Timing violation, ball on the batter.
So this is interesting. This is the second time that we've seen a time violation in this game today.
And then it's given right back with a hit by pitch. And it's going to bring up Emmerling with 2 on and 2 out. And she had the long homer in the fifth that put the Sooners in front briefly. It was her 8th. Pickering later added her 8th. She almost hit one in the snow cone truck on the Berman left center.
Almost to the Kona ice stand. And for Isabella Emmerling, this pitch, it is a down pitch that she just goes and hunts and drives it, like you said, almost to the Kona ice stand.
She knew she got it off the bat. Heron being cautious with her, the count of ball and a strike.
I just love the aggression of the Oklahoma offense. Every swing that they take, it's with intent and with 110% aggression. They are so aggressive in the box.
Another one popped up back in our direction, but landing down in the seats. Populated by both Razorback and Sooner fans today. And if you're just tuning in, you're looking at the colors, you might be thinking Oklahoma's Arkansas and Arkansas is Oklahoma, just to confuse you. Big pitch from Heron. Another one fouled back. I'm not an alternate uniform fan, Sydney. I'll save that for another day. I love it when you have really good uniforms. Arkansas does. They have great uniforms. They're going their alternate today and
Switching things up.
switching things up. 1-2 pitch. Boy, that was so tempting for Emmerling. She wanted a swing. There's an appeal. No, says William Lopez Pellet. Trying to use that aggression against some of these hitters. Maybe to get a chase. Now the count's 2-2. Heron on in relief of Burnham this inning. Went back to that same pitch. So Emmerling has seen it twice in a row and has taken. So what do you do here? 3-2.
Two great takes by Emmerling, and she just showed there that she's not going to bite at that pitch. If Robin Heron comes back with an off-speed pitch, she's going to have to bring it up higher in the zone, obviously being a 3-2 count. Could see her right here going with her rise ball.
Runners could start early. Here's the payoff. Tattooed off the dugout. That nearly hit Burnham, who was behind the netting.
And that is a hot shot right into the dugout. And right there, that pitch on a 3-2 count after going back-to-back changeups, Robin Heron did go with the low rise.
Peyton was relaxing, and that ball was tracking to her. McEnroe Marinas at second. Dayton at first. Another 3-2 pitch. That's ball 4. 2-out hit batter, then the walk, and the bases are loaded for the 9-hole hitter Hannah Core, who's 0 for 2. We all like to think we could call pitches. And then you get up against this team in a game like this, and maybe not so much. Not as much fun when you're trying to go in a chess match with these Sooners. And Patty Gasso is going to bring up Sydney Barker, I believe, to pinch hit. And I thought she might, but Barker will bat. 0 for 1 with a walk in our first game, and you see 4 homers for the freshman. Also got a pinch runner at first. It's Cheney Helton running for the catcher Emmerling. Hawks try to keep this game tied. Good pitch to start ahead. Bases full of Sooners. They've scored a run to tie it this frame. Heron works in and misses. 1-1. No margin of error. Was that a swing? It was. Our plate umpire Thomas Meyer did need the appeal. He said Barker offered, and that was the pitch that Heron was trying to get Emmerling to chase.
And for Robin Heron, the first 2 pitches just pounding the strike zone, coming back with this off-speed pitch. Barker's barrel did cross the plane of plate.
Bases full of Sooners, the 1-2. We might have another appeal. This time no swing, says our third base umpire. 2-2. Barker coming off the bench cold after starting game 1. Trying to put her team back in front in the top of the 6th inning. The pitch floats to the top of the zone and misses. And now the count's gone full, and everybody will start early. That fan not so sure. I think it was a pitch to Garcia earlier that she got that call at the belt, but the hitter had vacated. Bases loaded, payoff pitch, here it comes. And we'll do it again.
And this next pitch, Brett, this next swing could be a difference maker in momentum for either side.
Has that feel. Oklahoma scored a run this inning. They've loaded them up. 2 outs. Full count. Barker waiting on the 3-2. Here it is. How about ball 4 low? And Oklahoma is back in front. 3 straight free base runners with 2 outs. And it hasn't been like Robin has been missing badly. She's been trying to get these hitters to chase, and they've worn her down just a bit. And now for Arkansas, you got to turn this lineup over for Agbayani, who's 0 for 3. You know, City, if you throw a pitch over the heart of the plate and a Sooner smokes it, everybody be saying, well, why are you throwing over the heart of the plate? So then you nibble and you try and get them to chase down, or you go up and down and these hitters end up walking, and then you're like, well, why are you walking them? Well, it's just the presence they have in the box.
It absolutely is, and it's a tough situation with bases loaded, 2 outs, but exactly to your point, Brett, you bring it through the heart of the zone. They typically find a way to do damage to it. You nibble around the plate, their discipline, it shows time and time again.
What a strike call. That was the pitch again that Robin didn't quite get to Barker. Signals being relayed in on that device right on her glove. Bases loaded, the pitch. A liner that is caught by Rio. That ball looked like it was by her. It would have played it a couple of runs, and almost Ozzie Smith-like, she threw the glove up and made the catch.
And with bases loaded, 2 outs, this is a big-time out by Rio, tracking back and securing the out to get the Razorbacks back in the dugout.
Third pitcher of the game, but it's a familiar face, Sam Landry, who went the distance in Game 1.
And in Game 1, Sam Landry was pretty near close to perfect. Arkansas, what they can expect again from Landry is she's got great down bite movement on her drop ball, gets a lot of swing and misses or ground ball outs, and does a really great job of mixing speeds.
Kennedy Miller is going to lead off the 9-hole hitter. She's popped up and flied out to right. Huge freshman season for Kennedy with 8 homers, a .331 batting average. Be a little slower beginning this year. And that one misses up and out. Kind of the ebbs and flows of college softball. She'd really love to get on here for Johnson and Wyckoff and Ellis. We're getting to that point where there's not going to be an unlimited number of chances for the team that's trailing. Smoked. Off the end of the bat, however, it's going to land foul. That ball didn't have quite the carry, and Pickering made a bid at trying to catch it. Was unsuccessful. Looks like Dayton has now shifted over to left.
And this is what we saw in Game 1 as the game got closer, nearing the end of the 6th and 7th inning. Coach Patty Gasso, she shifted her outfield players.
Two balls, 2 strikes. Just spinning that one a little bit off that outside corner. Served up the middle. Garcia. She's made a couple of nice plays. She's smooth at short.
And for Gabby Garcia, the way that she has the range and getting her ball around it, it's impressive to me, Brett, how quickly she gets to the ball, but how quickly she is to release. Her transfer is so fast.
A lot of soft contact. She got a ground ball to begin the bottom of the 6th. So we saw Dayton go from right to left and Pickering go from left to right. And now with 5 infielders against Johnson. Pickering, who was in right, goes back to left. And Dayton, who was in
moving and
left,
shaking.
it comes into the infield. Johnson's walked and struck out twice. I think Oklahoma might have been sitting on Landry thinking, you know, if we can get a lead late, let's bring her right back into this game. Through 99 pitches in game 1. Arkansas did the same with Heron. It's hard to imagine, though, the run that put Oklahoma in front was a bases-loaded walk, which was preceded by a walk and a hit batter, considering all the power we've seen. And the Boomer Sooner chant kind of quieting the Woo Pig, and there's a chopper to short. And my goodness, have the Sooners made some plays on the infield this inning.
And what a play right there.
Garcia again.
And Garcia with another great play at shortstop. This ball is hit towards the 5-6 hole. She stays down on and firing off of that right leg.
That exchange is lightning fast. Glove to hand.
Her transfer is extremely quick. It's what makes her one of the top shortstops in the country.
So the shift works perfectly. And there's 2 outs for Wyckoff, who's doubled and scored one of Arkansas's 4 runs. If you're Landry, you want to maintain this lead and shorten the game. Ellis, Kramer, and Day to follow. She just as soon leave them for the 7th. She's fallen behind Wyckoff 2-0. Houston area kids going at it again here. Mount Bellevue against Katy. Good pitch. You're sitting on something to drive 2-0 and you see something in the zone, but it's off speed.
And for Coach Jennifer Rocha, she just does such a great job with her pitching staff and then her pitch calling in the games.
Hawks down to their final 4 outs, trailing by a run. Sooners claimed game 1 7-0, scoring 6 in the top of the 7th. Landry's pitch runs off the corner. I would say both of these pitchers that we've seen in both staffs, instead of just going up and down, they're going east and west. They're trying to use all 4 quadrants of the zone.
And that has been something that has changed between game 1 to now game 2. And you're exactly right, Brett. Working more east to west than vertically.
Count's gone full. Back to the circle. Hawks go in order. 3 ground ball outs from Landry. Continuing what she did in game 1. Sooners up by a run. They've taken a lead. Heron finished off the 6th. Hit better, walk and walk, chased home the go-ahead run. Now she's going to have to contend with the heart of the lineup. Parker, Sanders, and then Pickering again before Arkansas can get their heart of the lineup to the batter's box in the bottom of the 7th. Good pitch for strike 1 to Parker, who's 0 for 2 with the walk. These teams will play at 11 a.m. tomorrow for game 3 of the series. So it'll be a quick turnaround time. Sooners trying to run their record at 25-0 if they can hold on for this win. Well, I thought that was over the inside corner. Miller tried to frame it up just a bit and did not get the call.
Man, that pitch is not missing by much, if anything.
Sooners have seen a lot of pitches in the last 4 innings. Served to left, right to Kramer. 1 gone. So Herrin wins the battle for the first out in the top of the 7th.
This game has flown by already the top of the 7th. It has been an absolute battle from both sides. From both teams on both sides of the diamond.
It's been a well-played contest. This is Sanders. She's 0 for 3. She's lined out 3 times. Herrin just dropped one at the knees over that outside corner.
And one thing that we've seen the last 2 innings from Herrin and what she's done great throughout this entire season is getting first pitch strike.
You know, obviously that's important. And that 1-1 pitch that she didn't get in the previous batter to go 1-2 rather than 2-1, you're just trying to kind of play the odds to give you a little bit of a margin of error. Stay away from the hitters' counts as best you can. Sanders, the 3-hole hitter for the Sooners. May have expanded the zone just a bit and bounces one foul. Arkansas has a couple of pitchers throwing in their bullpen. City, is there a number of pitches where you'd be hesitant to go past for one pitcher in one day?
I'll tell you what the way the game of softball works, with Robin Herrin already throwing the first game and coming in the second game, I could see her closing this game out as they have utilized both Herrin and Burnham. For game 3 tomorrow, I could see them utilizing Cam Harris, saving her for tomorrow. She's been playing a big role on the Arkansas pitching staff.
Because she's at 165 now for the day. That's why I ask.
Now her pitch count is getting up there. But you're working essentially with 2 outs, needing 2 outs to get to the bottom of the 7th inning.
Really might be tough to bring one of the youngsters in this situation, but I'm with you because it does take her potentially out of the mix for tomorrow. And if Arkansas would not be able to come back, it would be kind of a must-win game 3 as it was last weekend in Oxford. Pickering had the long home run in the 6th to the top of the hill in right center.
And one thing to make note is last season, Pickering was an All-American for OU. And as Coach Patty Gasso closed out the Big 12, she finished with 15 Big 12 regular season titles, 11 straight from 2012 to 2023, 9 conference tournament titles, and not to mention 84 All-Americans.
And then they were picked 3rd preseason in the SEC, new league and maybe more depth, of course, more talented teams throughout the SEC. But I think the rest of the league is going to have to get used to them in Texas rather than the other way around.
Absolutely. And the list just keeps going on and on of the amazing accolades that players under Patty Gasso have received throughout her time.
There's a wave and a miss, and the throw's going to end up in center field. So Sanders gets the base, had the throw, but on the money. I think Sanders might have been erased. And that was the pinch runner Bland who got the base. So now a single could provide some insurance for Oklahoma. And that one's fouled outside the bag. Bland, who got that stolen base, she's not only a Dodgers fan but an Eagles fan, and she plays for the Sooners. Do any of her teams ever lose?
No.
World Series, Super Bowl, 25-0 potentially.
She likes all the good tapes.
She's a front runner. And she's in scoring position. Real good pitch. if you're Pickering, I can't blame her for not swinging at that. Herron just got enough of that outside edge to get strike 3. I mean, this is absolutely placed perfectly.
And for Herron, this pitch just paints the outer corner. And with the runner in scoring position, being up by only 1 run, those are the pitches to take a swing at.
That look of Pickering was one of disgust. McEnroe, Marinas doubled and scored a couple of runs. Trying to give Arkansas a chance to win it with 2 in the bottom of the 7th if Herron can retire. Nelly, Sooners third baseman. Smoked into center for a base hit. Johnson will bobble it, and that will allow the Sooners to indeed get that insurance. And it's a 6-4 game.
And that stolen base decision by Coach Patty Gasso to steal Bland, that's exactly what she was wanting, as McEnroe Marina steps up big, driving this ball right back up the middle, right back where it came from. A little bit of a bobble by Reagan Johnson in center field, but Bland, she would have been there all day from second.
Yeah, I don't know if Johnson has a chance at all. Is that one of those, as a center fielder, as hard as that hit, you have to get it on the first bounce? If you're playing it on the second bounce, is that too much time to come up and make a throw?
With the speed of Bland, she would not have the opportunity to throw her out at home. The play was going to be just to throw it into second all day.
So now it's 6-4 Oklahoma. Gabby Garcia, the batter. Tia Malloy is the pinch runner at first. So pulling out the pinch hitters, pinch runners, and whatnot late in this game. Garcia had a big double in the 4th. Malloy's off and running, and she is, no. We have an obstruction call. Coach Teufel out of the box quickly.
And she's going to challenge that call. Let's take another look at this. The ruling was obstruction, which would have been on Carly Davidson.
But the throw is taking her to that spot, isn't it?
Arkansas is challenging the play at second base. The call in the field is obstruction, and the runner is safe. That play is under further review.
So the daughter of Lawyer Malloy, the former NFL star, 15 years in the NFL, waiting to see if she's going to be called safe or not. I mean, if you're Davison, though, you're going to where the ball is. You're not trying to obstruct. You're trying to catch the ball. If you don't obstruct, then you don't catch.
Right, absolutely. In the position that she was in at second base, there could be the argue that she was set up in the base path. But at the same time, to your point, Brett, she's going where the ball is taking her.
Miller had a chance to maybe throw out Bland in the 7th earlier in this inning. We're getting a quick explanation here.
After review, the call in the field is upheld. Obstruction at second base. The runner is safe. This is Arkansas's first challenge.
I'm befuddled, Sydney. I find that interesting. This again, watch her. She's not going to camp in a spot. She's going to where the ball is. And she's also turning, so she's not blocking the base per se. She's catching, tagging, and spinning.
All right, that's a very tough one because the ball is taking her to that position.
For her to get to be a spot in front of that in order to give a path to the base would just require a quicker bounce. She was not going to be able to have the ability to get to another step in front of the base.
Right, you're exactly right.
So can the Sooners cash that in for then another run? They've added some insurance. They have scored now in 4 straight innings to build this 6-4 lead. In the air to center, and Johnson will have room. She'll make the catch. So the Sooners get a big insurance run. Arkansas needs 2 to tie and 3 to win in the bottom of the 7th. Big crowds here today fact, Oklahoma last weekend at home, I think they played in front of nearly 13,000 in 3 games. And 2 huge crowds today, but it's the Sooners who won game 1 7-0. And Sydney, they put up some runs and done some damage here in the last 4 to take this lead. They scored a run in the 4th, 2 in the 5th, 2 in the 6th, and 1 in the 7th. And Landry came on, pitched last inning. She got 3 ground ball outs. She's going to face the heart of the Razorback lineup, but Arkansas needs 2 just to tie and not 2 to win. Ellis has had 2 singles and a walk. There's another pitch on the outside corner that she's trying to contend with as they have worked her consistently in that spot.
And for Bri Ellis and her at-bats, she has worked on scooting up to the plate, as that's where she's been being pitched, is on the outer part of the plate, so that she's able to get to that outside pitch.
She'd love to have something to drive, but right now Arkansas does need base runners. She hits that one hard down the line and right, and out of play. Coming into play this weekend in the conference, Oklahoma was 2nd in slug, Arkansas was 4th. But the Hogs have not hit a home run today against the Sooners, in part because of this young lady in the circle. She's been inducing one ground ball after another.
And with the spin and movement that Sam Landry has, she keeps the ball more than anything in the infield. Getting a lot of ground ball outs, it's impressive that she has
2-2. Fouled back and out of play.
And for Arkansas, this is the part of your lineup that you want being down by 2 runs in the bottom of the 7th inning.
Thought that might clip Ellis. Count's gone full. Here's a payoff. Lifted out to right and caught. That's a big first down.
That's a huge first out by Sam Landry. And picked up the right field, getting that out.
One big out. Here's Reagan Kramer. He's been on base all 3 times today. Kramer did have a double against Landry in game 1. It was the lone extra base hit for the Razorbacks. Singled in Arkansas's first run in the 3rd. Twice today the Hogs have had a 1-run lead. 2-1, 4-3, but right now it's the Sooners by a pair. That's just painted nicely on the outside corner.
And one thing going into this weekend that Coach Patty Gasso talked about is the way that her offense swings the bat. It alleviates the pressure that her pitching staff feels. And especially in game 1 and even in game 2 being up by 2 runs, you can see that in play.
Well, I completely agree. It's like the football team that wears you down running the football, gives the defense a break. They're not on the field that much, and they're always being able to be aggressive in the sense that they know their offense will do their part. 2-1 to Kramer. Wave it a miss. And listen, when you play Oklahoma, there's a little bit of feeling like you're running uphill, where you never kind of get that break. Even when Arkansas took a couple of 1-run leads, the Sooners answered right back, so you're constantly expending so much energy to try and compete against this team.
You're exactly right. And every swing, every pitch, it is intense. It is a dogfight competing against the Oklahoma Sooners.
And when you play 2 games in a day against the Sooners as Kramer Kays, and then you got that early turnaround, the one thing you don't want to do is see this weekend go by in a blink of an eye and have the Sooners add to their win total. But Landry has just been outstanding in the circle.
And Landry utilizing her drop ball. That is her go-to pitch. Reagan Kramer's barrel just getting on the top of it.
She tried to pull those hands back and try to spin a little bit, just couldn't get barrel to ball. And here's Courtney Day. Going to take a strike. Dropped down a bunt for a sacrifice that led to a 2-run inning in the 5th. But 0 for 5 this afternoon in the 2 games. Keep in mind, it takes just 1 base runner to bring the tying run to the plate. Ella McDowell's on deck. She's knocked in a couple of runs. I bet a year ago when Courtney Day is coaching a high school softball team north of Houston, literally in the middle of nowhere, and someone said, hey, next year at this time, you'll be batting against the Sooners of Oklahoma. It'd be hard to comprehend.
Absolutely. And one thing Coach Courtney Deifel talked about is how excited they are that they get to be her happy ending.
She's trying to keep this game going. Landry trying to end it. Loop towards right. Will it fall? Yes, it will. And it's going to roll away. And Day's going to stop at second. Doesn't want to make the last out at third base. And what it does, it gives Arkansas a chance with 1 swing to tie the game.
And with 1 swing, this puts a runner in scoring position. A home run could do the trick, but for Courtney Day, it's a down and out pitch that she's able to loft just a little bit in front of Pickering in right field.
You know, not every move has worked. Most of them have worked for Patty Gasso. If she left Dayton in right, I think she makes that play rather than Pickering. However, Arkansas is going to burn a pinch runner. Ramsey Walker is going to run.
And, you know, as an outfielder, sometimes with those hits and the score of the game being late in the game, you want to be aggressive and you want to go all out. I think that's a play that if you're not able to catch it, just keep it in front of you. That could have limited her to just a single. But I've had experience with those in-betweeners. It's hard to make the decision.
I think it shows you how big that insurance run was that the Sooners got in the top of this inning.
Absolutely. Yeah, 1-run ball game, that definitely makes the decision a little bit different. With 2 runs, it's a different scenario.
Conversation is too lengthy for some of the fans down below who are screaming at our plate umpire to go out and break things up. McDowell, though, has 2 singles. Knocked in a couple of runs. It feels like every time today, though, she has been willing to try and go to right field. Obviously, a lot of power through the youth ranks, and she represents the tying run, but that approach has been similar. It's been trying to get the ball to right and add to those totals.
Her approach has been the same all day. Every swing that she's taken and every RBI that she has, it's been to the right side of the field.
Razorbacks again down to their final out. Landry trying to end this game. There are no secrets at this point with these 2 pitchers who have thrown a ton between 2 games.
As an offense, you know what they have in their arsenal, and you know what they're going to throw in certain counts.
Good pitch. Still about executing, isn't it? I mean, the pitcher makes her pitch. Normally she's going to win, and if she makes a mistake, that's where the batter's got a chance. On the ground to short. Quick flip to first by Garcia. She's outstanding today, and the Sooners get the win, and they've swept the doubleheader, winning 6-4. Twice the Razorbacks had 1-run leads, and Oklahoma answered, getting all 6 of their runs, Sydney, in the last 4 innings for the W.
And total props to Sam Landry and the performance that she had in both game 1 and 2 today. The offense, it was the home runs that was the main producing factor of the Oklahoma offense in game 1 and 2 today. And what we saw today from both of the Ings, Pickering and Emmerling with the home runs, definitely helped the Sooners get ahead. And the defensive plays were just outstanding.
Agreed. Good pitch.